I finally made a start on my new bow tee, and I'm currently at this point, so imagine that this is for the back, but I'm going to hold it to the front. These are going to be the shoulder sleeves, and then I'm just now working the body. This is the bow tee that I'm trying to replicate. I knit this on my knitting machine probably like 2 or 3 years ago now, and the yarn I used for this was secondhand. It's kind of like a fluffy mohair, very fine yarn. It's gorgeous. It has a lovely sheen to it. It's just very impractical to wear this fibre in the summer because it's a very summery tee. And I also back then knit this just as 2 rectangles. There's like no shaping or anything, but as you can see, it looks like there is because the fabric basically merged to my body. So I've used this sample and measured it to then replicate this with actual shaping. So obviously the yarn that I'm using for this is different. This is a cotton linen lyocell blend, so this is going to be a lot better for the summer, but it's most likely going to drape very differently to this. I did all the maths and stuff yesterday. Fortunately left my notebook with all my measurements and stuff at my friend's house yesterday, but they sent me some photos so I can show you on my phone. This is kind of the initial measurements that I took. So I made a rough sketch, and then I took all the measurements of the t-shirt lying flat, so I measured all the different parts and wrote all of that down on here. It's super messy, but it makes sense to me, and that's all that matters. I also did this kind of sketch where I kind of tried to mark where I'm going to increase and decrease. This is a bit outdated now because I have actually decided to knit top down rather than bottom up. The bottom up instructions, and obviously decided I didn't like that, so I converted those into my top down instructions, realizing I made a few mistakes, and then I fixed it, and I have like a few other versions. It was very handy that I already had a sample that I could take the measurements off, and so far all the stitches and row counts are working out. So basically what I did with these measurements here is I would take my gauge and kind of like multiply, divide one of those. I don't know, in German it's called Dreisatz, but I don't know what it's called in English, this like mathematical formula. I would just put it in the formula and use the width measurements for the stitch count and the length measurements for the row counts. So yeah, I'm at the point now for the back piece where I'm literally just going back and forth with a few increases every now and again. So it's a bit boring, but I'm quite enjoying it. The fabric is feeling very nice. It's definitely a scary process because I don't actually know if this is all going to work out until everything is added together. So I think I'm going to knit the body to a certain length only. I'm not going to go all the way, and then I'm already going to cast on the front panels just so I can figure out the drape and stuff and not waste my time with doing the full body length because I can always pick up the stitches later on. I'm going to just knit along, listen to my audiobook. I have been big on the audiobook hype. I can't get enough, and a lot of my holds have become available recently, so I'm kind of trying to catch up. But I haven't been watching any TV or any YouTube even for like 2 weeks now, and I'm all right with that. I just love listening to my audiobooks, so that's what I'm going to do. I've actually finished one of the front panels, which went a lot smoother than I anticipated. It's a little bit hard to see, but this is basically the front panel with like the V-neck. I'm just going to try it on and see how it's looking. I actually think it's looking pretty good. It's quite hard to try on because the sides aren't attached. This would obviously be the back of the shoulder. Actually, if I try and like secure this with the mic, then this is what the front panel looks like. So the V-neck comes down to here, and then this is the slope of the sleeve, which is obviously quite rolled up right now, and also it would attach at the bottom here. I could grab a stitch marker and secure it, but this is looking quite a lot like the first version that I'm basing this on, so that's a good sign. I just don't love this top bit here, but I don't know if it's all, I actually can't tell. I think it's a bit wonky. That's pretty successful. I'm gonna cast on the other side and then I can, with stitch markers, keep it all together, and then I think I'll get a better idea of the fit. But so far, this is really matching up my instructions and my measurements. And the yarn as well looks so lovely. Like, this is so similar to this version, but just a lot more practical. I've just tried it on again with the original bow tee underneath to compare where I need to change things, because the V-neck here comes down a little bit lower, so I've decided to reduce the instructions that I've written down by about 10 rows to place the V-neck join a little bit higher. I also really hate this, like this just didn't work out. And the bow tee is actually a lot shorter, so I need less stitches here, but I need more stitches on the inner neck. So I'm going to transfer those onto here. I like how this is fitting at the back of the shoulder here. This is the perfect curve around the arm. However, at the front here, you can see how it's bunching. So I'm going to keep the instructions for the back, but I need to reduce the amount of stitches I have here, which I think is automatically going to happen from moving this over. So it just needs to be a little bit more like this. I also think I need to include some increases here. So I'm going to start with less stitches and increase them, because on the photo that I took, I realized that this fabric has really sloped over my shoulder rather than just like being straight like that, which is how I've knit it. So I'm going to make a few adjustments to my written instructions. I completely forgot yesterday that I had another tattoo laser removal appointment, because I was so focused in on rewriting my pattern, I completely almost missed it. However, I did go, and that meant that last night was pretty much a write-off, because it is so sore afterwards. Like, not like a tattoo at all, it's genuinely sore like an open wound, and he ups the voltage every single time. So for my second one, we went up to 200 volt, and let me tell you, that hurt a lot more than the first time round, and it's looking a lot more sore than the first time round as well. Like, it's so red and agitated. Very swollen as well. It's gonna bruise like hell. It's already starting to bruise here. If it was bruised last time, I don't even know how bad the bruising is gonna get this time around, because yeah, it hurts so bad. But yeah, I spent a little bit more time this morning rewriting all my instructions. So I have a few different pieces of paper here. I think I figured it out, and I have decided that I'm just going to start again because it's all getting very confusing, and instead of attaching the front piece to the back panel, I'm gonna work the front and back panel completely separate, because I think the seam at the top of the shoulder will look better when it's seamed right at the end as well. So this is where I'm at. This is gonna be the back, but I really wanna leave the house. I'm very much in my working from cafes era right now. My bank account is not loving that as much, but for me it's a business expense. So that's how I tell myself I can get away with it a bit more. But I want to get some breakfast, I want to get a coffee, I want to listen to my audiobook undistracted, and yeah, that is the plan. So let's go head out. That was a very successful trip to the city. I had to rework the maths for the front panel a few times, but overall, I think I got it. I mean, I already said this yesterday and then I didn't get it. But if I hold this up to where it roughly will be, now keeping in mind things will obviously change once it's all attached, but this is where the shoulder would hit, which is perfect. This is roughly where the V-neck would hit, which is also perfect. So what I think I'm going to do is do the second front panel, clip everything to the back panel, which is very short at this point, but I just want to see once both front panels are done, whereabouts they would sit. And then if that's all correct, I can do the back panel, check again how everything sits, and then I might be able to go and knit the rest of the body. But yeah, so far I'm pretty... Hey. Yeah, but so far I'm pretty happy, especially with this sort of arm slope. So I'm going to do the other front panel tonight, and I'll check in with you probably tomorrow morning to see how it all works out. Good morning. I've just spent some time seaming the shoulders together and adding some longer stitch markers at the bottom here so I can actually try on the piece now that I've created quite a good amount of the yoke. So the front and the back are now the same length. However, I do work them separately and I seam them at the end because I've noticed also this seam at the top here, now that I've kind of like crochet slipped it together, it holds the structure so much better than if I was to pick up the stitches around the shoulder. So seaming for this project is definitely a good idea. Now the only thing that is still not quite working out is the shoulders, and they don't look bad like on first sight. However, they slope down too much, like they're too much of a, I don't know, shape here. Whereas I kind of need like all of this gone, which is basically all the increases that I did. I don't really need them, so I could just cast on that much less and let the shoulders do its thing. I don't want to redo everything, obviously, so I think I'm going to just catch all the stitches across here and work upwards for the shoulders, same on the back. Otherwise, the fit here is gorgeous. The fit under the arms was perfect. All these sort of frustrating maths I had to do yesterday paid off. I was also able to fix, in the first try on, there's quite a lot of bunching going on under the arm at the front here. It looks like there is now, but I think it's a sports bra I'm wearing underneath. But yeah, there's no bunching here now, which is lovely. I've just rewritten all of my instructions. There's an absolute mess everywhere. There's just paper everywhere. I've also just written it down on my laptop because taking notes on paper is really helpful to start with, but I feel like I need to just like quickly write it all out so I can see it clearly without my swirly writing. And I do think I have to start again, which I don't love, obviously, but I do think it will be much better if I just start again. This actually does work up quite quickly. It's like I knit all of this yesterday and revising quite a lot of my notes, so I think I'm just gonna have to spend another day doing that. But like I said, it will be worth it. This isn't the part of the process where I should be cutting corners, to be honest. This is where I need to be precise. I'm gonna see if I have some more yarn so I can cast on another version. If not, I'm gonna have to frog this. Ideally, I would like to keep this so I could compare this to my second version, but I have a feeling I don't have any more skeins upstairs. If you saw my last vlog, you would have seen that I went to Germany for a week, and I have some other sort of holiday trips planned. And if you're lucky like me to have some fun travel plans this year, then let me share with you my #1 travel hack, and that is to use an eSIM like Simify, who was a sponsor of today's video. I didn't even know what an eSIM was until I had to learn the hard way that international travel is basically impossible if you haven't put an eSIM in place. If you don't know, an eSIM is a digital SIM card with mobile data downloaded straight to your phone instead of having to buy a physical SIM card. You can then manage all of your data in the Simify app. It also can be easier and quicker to set up. You just scan the QR code and then all you have to do is adjust your phone settings after landing at your destination. When I went to Switzerland last year, I completely forgot that I was traveling outside of the EU, which is not covered with my normal data plan, and I was literally stranded in the middle of the city with no access to Wi-Fi or data, and it made the start of my trip so stressful. I also went to Norway later that year, and I came way better prepared and actually sorted out my eSIM before I arrived, and I will never go without it now. Got an exclusive 15% discount for your next Simify eSIM, so you can be well prepared for your travels this year. You can use my code AVA for 15% or click the link in the description, or you can also scan the QR code on the screen. Thank you so much to Simify for sponsoring this video, and I'm now going to finish frogging my project. I was going to film and show you my new attempt at the top yesterday, but then when I came back from Pilates, what happened? Oh yeah, we were expecting some builders to come around our house for a consultation around 4, and then Ryan said it was actually 4:30. They didn't turn up at 4:30, so then we were like, maybe they're coming at 5:30, and they just didn't come at all. I think some people have been interested to know whether I'm going to do any more like home decor renovation style videos soon, and yesterday's a great example of why I'm not because everything's taking so long. We're basically at a point where a big project in the house can't be done by just us. We need to get some builders in, and we don't really want to be doing anything else in the house until that is done. So it's just been a waiting game for months now, which is incredibly frustrating, but at the same time I haven't really got the mental space, to be honest, to be thinking about it, so I'm all right with that. So I actually knit everything again. I didn't make it as far down this time round. It's weird how quickly this actually works up, considering that I'm working with a fingering weight yarn, but obviously because it's meshy it has quite a lot of give. But let's try it on. I really hope that this is the version to go with. Wait, okay, this is actually looking really good. I think I got it. I think this is it. The sleeves are perfect, like they're just kind of at the top of the shoulder. The v-neck comes down. It's a lot higher up, but I think it's because last time I had more rows to weigh it down. I didn't change anything about the row amount or anything, so this should still be the same. It looks so good. What the hell? All right, this is so exciting. 3 attempts and it's done, because everything about the bottom is now the same. Now, to be fair, that could also change. I might not like the increases that I've set and stuff. I'm gonna go to the gym, and then I'm gonna go to yoga afterwards, like a very restorative yoga. And then I think I'm gonna go back into the city and knit from the city. I think it's because this project is actually quite boring, like just working back and forth. So being able to be in a different space is kind of keeping me motivated, whereas at home I can get distracted quite easily. Also, reason why I'm always down in the living room at the moment, and also a reason why I think I'm really enjoying knitting from out of the house at the moment, is because I'm waiting for a new chair for my office, and without that chair my office is pretty much useless to me. So I haven't really got a space at the moment, and I'm reminded once again that I do not like working from my living room. It stresses me out. I will let you know if I encounter any more problems. Yeah. I was going to film yesterday at the pub, however it was very dark in there and I couldn't actually see, and I also only had a very small amount of yarn left to work with. I have already ordered some more yarn like a couple of days ago, so I'm really hoping it arrives early next week so I can actually finish this in this video. That would be incredible. But I just finished up the yarn that I still had this morning, so this is now where I'm at. I completely finished the back panel and cast it off, and then the front panel still has a bit to go. I will try it on for you to see. The back actually comes down to a really good length. The original sample that I made on my knitting machine was so short, it came up to like here. This is the perfect length here, and then this is how the front is looking. I'm liking this sleeve. It's still a bit rolled in, obviously hasn't been blocked it yet or anything, so I'm hoping this will kind of flare out a little bit more. And then the v-neck sits a little bit higher than it does on the sample one. The sample's like down here. I think I'm going to decide once the bow is attached and the whole top is done whether I want the v-neck to actually also sit a lot lower like here, or if I actually prefer the v-neck where it is. Where the v-neck is right now, it does work quite well with wearing tops underneath, whereas the other one you can kind of always see like the top peeking out and it just doesn't look as neat. But that's just going to be a decision that I can make right at the end. So this is now a waiting game, hoping that the yarn will arrive sooner rather than later. In the meantime, I have this cardigan that I finished. This is my Heidi cardigan pattern that's coming out sort of end of April, and I made this with Sandusgarn, Borsted and Sunday held together, and it's been blocked. It feels lovely and soft. I just need to add some buttons, so I thought we could do that today. I also had some new yarn arrive that I need to work up some samples with. I'm still trying to find a yarn alternative for my Christmas jumper that I want to release this year. I made these samples with Hobby Copenhagen Fibers Merino and the mohair. This one was with a larger needle and I didn't love how stretched out that was, so then I made this one, which looks nice, like the motifs look really great, but the gauge is too small. I also tried the Copenhagen Fibers brushed alpaca, one of the alpacas, with merino, and this feels so lovely and soft. The gauge for this was too big for the Christmas jumper, but this gauge hits my Heidi cardigan, so I'm going to order this yarn combination in black to make a cardigan for my mum. And that also actually brings me on to something that I wanted to show you. I've been thinking about ways that I can keep all my yarn swatches with the relevant information. I used to keep a lot of them on my corkboard, but I've kind of been drawing back to my swatches and the sort of yarn that I like to use for upcoming projects, and I never had the details saved on like what yarn size I use, what gauge it actually is. I always had to go to my corkboard and pin it and like measure it again and then kind of guess what size needle I'll use for that. So I've changed my system and I'm now keeping all my samples in this folder with the like relevant information. I'll put this down on my desk and we can go through it together. So I just got this massive ring binder. I'll try and link everything that I use for this in the description. And then I just got these double slot plastic sheets, and I found that when I put my samples in, they kept like flinging out, so I'm keeping them held in by pinning the bottom, and then at the top I've just got like a safety pin. And then I've got the information for the yarn, so the yarn title, in this case I held it double, the needle size, the gauge, and I would eventually like to organize them by gauge or like by yarn size, but at this moment in time I just haven't got enough to do that just yet. I've been finding this so helpful when I'm looking for yarn to hit a specific gauge and a specific fit, so then I can just kind of go through my library of yarn here, which is really helpful. Like for this one, for example, I used the West Yorkshire spinners with a 5.5 needle, and then this one I tried by holding it double and it reached obviously like a completely different gauge. And I think I actually kept this slot free to put this swatch in there, so that goes in there, and I'll just write up a little sheet of information and then I can keep it in there. Right, I'm gonna try and see if I can get some buttons to fit this cardigan. I feel like these colours could look quite nice. I feel like these buttons are massive. I really don't know what to use these for. I feel like these could look quite cute actually. These could be an option as well. Then just some plain light brown ones. This is really hard. They all look good. I think it's just this colour works so well with everything. I think I want to chance it, and I'm going to do the red ones and just hope that they don't slip off. It has actually been a few days. I was really hoping the yarn would arrive in time for me to finish the top, but it hasn't even been shipped. So I don't know what's happening with that. Mentally, I'm now in this awkward in-between bit where I am still very mentally focused on that top, but I also have nothing else to work on. So I don't want to start like a big project, you know. There's obviously a ton of things that I could be starting, but I want to have a fresh, clean slate for that. So the last couple of days I spent some time knitting up a few more swatches for one of those projects. I want to make another summery top. This time it's not going to be as meshy, and I ordered a few different kinds of yarn for those and worked up some swatches. These are all blocked as well. The first one I tried was this Viking bamboo. This felt lovely to work with. It literally just slid so nicely off my needles. It has like a nice sort of loose drape, however it is a little bit more see-through than I hoped. Then I tried the Viking Garn Bjork. This is the label for that one, and I held this one double because it was too thin for the smallest needle that I had, and this actually feels so lovely as well, but it is obviously a little bit thicker because I'm holding it double. You can see it's not as like flowy as this one is. So I do like that one, but probably too thick for a summer top. And then I tried this mercerized 8x8 cotton by Linda Hobby, and this one is lovely. Again, not as flowy, but it's not as heavy as this one. I really love the stitch definition. I love how shiny it is. It's not too see-through, so I think this is going to be the yarn that I use for my next summer top. I also, like I mentioned, did another swatch for my Christmas jumper using this yarn, and it does match my gauge. I just don't like the feel of just a single stranded wool. This hasn't got a nice soft feel. It doesn't drape very nicely, and I do think I need to hold 2 strands to get the feel that I'm looking for. So I'm now waiting for the Copenhagen Fibres brushed alpaca from Hobby to arrive, because I ordered a bunch to make another one of these black cardigans, and I'm gonna see if maybe I just need to up my gauge slightly, because I love the feel of that one. Remember the swatch that I showed you, this one? I love how sort of loose and flowy and soft it is, but the gauge is just 1 stitch too big. So when the black yarn arrives, I can recreate this motif in the round to see what my tension is like, because it does change in the round, and especially when you're doing colour work, it changes then as well. I also made these 2 swatches for the Drops Alaska, and this one I was hoping I could use for my cable knit jumper that I want to work on, and I did them in 2 different needle sizes, and I've already forgotten which ones. Terrible. This is why I need to keep track of them as soon as I knit them, but I honestly can't really tell which one I prefer, so I guess I could just choose whichever one matches the gauge that I have written down for this jumper. So I have a whole lot of mess going on that I'm going to organise and put into my folder, but I do think before that I'm going to say goodbye and end the video here, because the yarn is not going to arrive in time to show you the finished top in this video, so I'll make sure to film as soon as it does arrive and update you in one of my upcoming vlogs. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'll see you next time. You can actually hang around for a bit more, and I'll do a little montage of me organising my folder.